Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cocktails and Rocktails with me, your most notorious groupie, Allison Rouse, author of... Ooh, just got a pop-up. Okay, anyway, author of this little guy right here. We've got Tonight, The Life and Times of Notorious Groupie. These other little books right here, where you can get all that down in my description. So go down, use those fingers, fiddle about. I love it. No tap, tap, tap here. And as always, I love to start our episodes with being so thankful for everybody here. I know I'm not perfect, and I don't know if I even deserve this amazing family and community that is being created here, because I'm not the only one creating it. I just have a place for us to kind of hang out. So thank you guys so much for just being the most amazing community, the kindest people, the biggest hearts, men, women, everybody in between. You guys fucking rock. I just can't even tell you how much I truly am just deeply thankful. My actions may not always say that because, and we'll talk about that in another video, but we're going to get to that soon. But just truly thank you. I really appreciate every single person here, whether you're commenting, whether I know of your existence here or not. You guys all are just so amazing and help this community and this family be what it is and grow. And thank you to everybody who's sharing everything. You guys rock. And today we're going to talk about some not so pretty stuff in rock and roll, because, you know, a lot of documentaries are coming out over the past few years about, you know, different situations like Nickelodeon, Harvey Weinstein, P. Diddy, all the stuff that's coming out. And one that came out a few years ago, about 5 years ago, was the boy band con about Lou Pearlman. Pretty interesting. Kind of amazes me. I've got like 5 pages worth of notes on this. So we're going to get into it. And today we're going to be drinking a little pina colada because Lou Pearlman was from Florida. And what a great place to have a pina colada. And this is our local shade. You guys know this is my favorite local. They just fucking rock. And they're just great people too. You know? So when you have a brew house that makes really awesome brews and are great people, it just makes it even better. So everybody... Ooh, okay. I may have to have a little help opening this because I got my nails. Hold on. Okay, got it. Oh. Usually I get a bit of a warning before something like that happens, but hey, okay. At least it wasn't Kip Winger and did that in my mouth. If you know, you know. Which, you know, kind of brings me back to the whole Kip Winger thing. With all the Huck Tua stuff going on, I think that girl's hilarious. I love her to death. That started the Huck Tua, but I think I was one of the original Huck Tua girls because of Kip Winger. I Huck Tua'd that shit right into a fucking hotel glass. You know I did. All right, everybody. Grab your limings, kick up your feet, and let's have a little cocktails and rocktails. Cheers, big ears. These guys are just so good. Oh, the coconut, the lime in it, everything about it is summertime Florida. I want to get on a jet ski, get in the water, go to Disneyland. But there's little sharks in the water, so I'll stay in the shallow end. I know they're swimming up there these days, though. Maybe they needed some people in Florida like this, because we're going to talk about some people in Florida. Okay, so, you know, it starts out with something that really kind of is a conundrum for me. So throughout music history, there has been someone to keep 12-year-old girls' attention. And that's true. Like in my time, it was Sean Cassidy, Rex, Rex Smith, who was this blonde, you know, Leif Garrett, Duran Duran came along, and ooh, my 12-year-old girl self went fucking insane. You know, I mean, because that tween age is kind of very profitable. My generation was kind of the first generation that really started making movies that were geared toward teens and tweens and stuff like that. So that kind of became a marketable community. Not because they're trying to do anything illicit or anything. It's just mom and dads will buy their girls the albums, the posters, the merch, the concerts, everything like that. So it is a big marketing area, marketing community. So, and that's true, like I said, in my time. Now, Lou Pearlman, he seemed, you know, he started out in New York And they interview a bunch of his friends in this movie, which is kind of crazy because one of the stories Lou tells religiously, or he told religiously, was his first enterprise that he bought. He borrowed $500 from someone, bought this kid's paper route, and then paid it back within and made a profit within like the first week, bought a bunch of other paper routes. And the friend comes back and says, yeah, that's not true. He never bought anything from me because paper routes aren't for sale. So this kind of really does, it kind of starts into this part because with the documentary, if you have not seen it, I recommend highly watching it. I think it's kind of a really interesting of the time of what the music business kind of was really like. So especially for the boy bands and boy girls. So this kind of started a pattern in his life of deception, lying, bragging that he's making more money than what he is, and he's doing these enterprises and yada yada yada. So that was the first one. The second one, well, the second one wasn't really lie, but how did it get there? He said he was cousins with, Crosby, Stills, or not Crosby, Garfunkel. Simon and Art Garfunkel. So, who was huge at the time. This is one of the biggest musicians in the world. So, he says that he's cousins with him and he's coming to play his bar mitzvah, which he did show up and he did do a song. How that actually happened, I don't know. Because one of the factors that a lot of these guys have is they have a mother that doted on them like no tomorrow. Put them up on a pedestal, and a lot of different moms do this, and most of them turn out okay. It's all right. It's all right. Moms and sons can be close. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think when you get to a point of putting them up on a pedestal and they can do no wrong, it creates an environment to kind of grow like a petri dish, this kind of behavior. And it started, like I said, when he was very young. So is the second lie really a lie or not a lie? But then he decides to go, him and his friend are obsessed with aviation, with blimps, with stuff like that. And they start a blimp company. Well, they get this big client, Jordache Jeans, which was huge at the time. Absolutely huge. If you didn't have Jordache Jeans, oh my God, you just were, no, your lowriders weren't going to do it. So on the way to this big, Jordache event in New York City, this 24 karat, this blimp that was covered in all this gold and all this stuff that was supposed to be this big, it crashes accidentally. We're using the the quotes. But so, and the friend calls up, he's like, hey, what happened? What's going on? And Lou's basically threatened him. He's like, you don't need to know, you're just this in the company and I know what's going on and that's all you need to know and you shouldn't fuck with me because I've got my ways and stuff. And he collected $3 million. Goes down to Florida. Starts an aviation company. Quotes again. You see these little nails flashing. But so starts an aviation company, kind of builds off that, sees these boy bands and is like, this is really good. These guys make shit tons of money, right? So, okay. So, and he approached all these boy bands very much like some of these guys didn't have dads because like one of the guys in Backstreet, his father, as many of you Backstreet fans know, that one of Kevin's father, I believe his name is. I only slept with AJ and I didn't know it was. I was sleeping with the back boy when I was doing it. A Backstreet boy. Although I have to say, AJ, you look really good at this. You look really good these days. I know you're married and you're happy and I love that. But I'm just going to say you look really good these days. Yeah. Anywho. So, this is kind of when, I don't know, Ron Perlman, another sinister name. Or not sinister, but anyway, Lou always kind of made this facade, made all these stories, made it up to look like he was this great businessman, okay? And a lot of quote-unquote successful businessmen do that. We know a few of them right now. But they're not really successful. They're just cons. They're just, there's a lot of people in jail. Bernie Madoff. Ponzi schemes. So, he seemed to be another sinister ego that needed that total control, because he, according to his childhood friends, he was kind of always the odd man out. So he needed something to feed the ego, to feed his image, to make himself seem as cool and awesome, more popular, all this stuff, you know. So I think, and people kind of looked at him at the time as the Berry Gordy of the boy band world. You know, he was always on the phone with someone. He knew how exactly every predator knows what to do, how to make you feel important, how to make you feel accepted and it's okay. Buying these guys houses that they're all going to live in the boy band camp, and this kind of became his MO for the boy bands and the girl bands and that he had put together. So, because I mean, that's a lot. So he's showering them with gifts, showering them with compliments, going out to these big dinners where all their families are there, the moms and dads, sisters, brothers, cousins, the members of the band, everything, paying for these big extravagant dinners. He loved food. He loved these dinners. He had such a great time. You know, again, here you are putting up this facade, showering with someone compliments, gifts, freedom, promises of grandeur and success, which did come true. But I mean, they really were put through the ringer, and AJ called him the best used car salesman ever. He could sell you a car with features that were not even invented yet. Another trait of predators, fast talkers, con men, right? And every time Luke Perlman was ever approached about any of this, he threw shade. He got mad. He avoided the questions. He pretended like he answered it and you were stupid. So again, these are typical behaviors of known predators, you know. So, but we don't see it because these kids were young. They were working 1, 2, 3 jobs just to pay their bills. They were trying to make it in some sort of business, working at Disneyland. So he kind of got into a very vulnerable market that hadn't been hit yet, you know, because he had transcontinental air, which supposedly used private jets and rented them out to the rock stars for the tours, like Metallica would have flown on, like I had flown on with different bands, you know. So he kind of, but that's going to come into question later, you know. So then he starts the transcontinental record company, and people can believe it. You know, you've got Los Angeles, you've got New York, and all of a sudden Orlando shows up on the map as like one of the heaviest hitters when it comes to the boy bands and stuff. And it happens really fast. Again, another, you know, typical feature of predator stories, however that predator may be. So, and it's like, you know, he's pitching him these ideas. He's showing him the facade. He's letting them come over to this big mansion, throw birthday parties, drive the Rolls Royce, has his own old limo and driver, which, trust me, gotta adjust the girls for this. Just because a man has his own limo and driver does not make him a quality person. So, and I think Lou began to believe the facade he put out there. He believed the stories, so it made him telling those stories even more believable to the people he conned. Because it wasn't just Backstreet Boys he conned. It wasn't just musicians. It wasn't just NSYNC. It wasn't just people making him, you know, get into these contracts. Because, let me see, where is it? There's so many notes on here, and I've got to find where I'm talking about this. Oh, because part of the con of Lou, and you know, he made these guys work their asses off. He bought them in this house. There was this big airplane hangar. He would make them practice 6 to 8 hours a day, which is quite normal. Trying to make it in the world, that's what you do. So he had these normal elements that made everything seem so believable, right? So they're practicing in these airplane hangars without any air conditioning. They're dying. They're sacrificing. They're telling the parents, oh, you're going to be rich. Told Lance Bass's mom that, oh, yeah, you're going to be super rich because you're never going to have to teach school again. Yeah. So kind of told that. And then he And he actually did have kind of a bigger influence on, pop culture society. TLR, Total Request Live was made during this time specifically for the boy bands, because all of a sudden you had the teenage girl fans that were standing outside in Times Square in the middle of the sidewalk and street, just down there screaming. So it was bringing this huge attention, huge cultural phenomenon. Kind of like when the Beatles first happened and there was, just all the screaming and going crazy. Same thing was happening. So TRL Live was actually, invented during that time for this specific reason. So I got to adjust a little bit. So again, all this stuff is playing into the belief that what he's doing is... Oh, sorry, I just got another text message from my neighbor. But yeah, so he's putting these believable elements along with these typical predatory behaviors. And that's what they do, because you have to balance some of the reality with your lies, or else you're not going to be able to sell the lies. You have to kind of drag people into that. Where am I? Okay, there I am. So, and one of the things you do when you are a predator is you tend to pit people against each other. So when he got the Backstreet Boys and started them and they became this huge phenomenon, he decided, I'm going to make another one. So he got NSYNC together, but he kept them secret because he wanted, and he knew he was going to do this. And predators love this. They love to pit people against each other. They love to create, go to one camp and say, those guys in Backstreet Boys, they're such assholes, blah, blah, blah. Then he goes to NSYNC and does the exact same thing, says the exact same thing to them. So he's creating this wall, creating this rivalry between NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, and they don't even know that NSYNC exists at first, because Lou wanted to hide him, which again, this is more of his, conning behavior. So he wanted to hide NSYNC so he would have things built under F5 or, something that had nothing to do with what the band's name was, so he could hide him. And Backstreet Boys kind of had turned down a gig with Disney, and NSYNC took it, and that's when it all came out. And he really did a good job at creating that fight, because he knew it would create even more publicity. It would create, there was girls who were either into Backstreet Boys or you were into NSYNC. There was nothing in between. So creating that rivalry, he knew what he was creating as far as marketing, publicity, expanding everything, because 12-year-old girls, they cannot like both. So he kind of pitted that, which again is part of that predatory behavior. And when you create that rift between people, you're going to be the savior in between them. So again, that puts that golden halo on you. That kind of makes people believe that you're just the king of the world and they need to follow you. You're their guru, so to speak. And in reality, it was fucked up, because once they started getting successful, they sold millions of albums. The money was flowing in, the tours, the interviews, everything was going, the products, everything was flowing, and they'd get these checks for $10,000. $10,000. Which that should have been into millions. So this is when their eyes kind of all started opening when it came to the Backstreet Boys and think about, what do you mean? Because a lot of times you just get so fast talk, you're so excited, you get a contract sort of explained to you, and you can't really afford lawyers at the time. So again, here comes the big bad wolf kicking in Little Red Riding Hood's door. Did a lot more than that. So when they got these checks, they were like, what the fuck are these $10,000 checks? We should have, $100,000, $500,000 checks. And people were so pissed that Lance Bass went and just ripped his check up. He's like, yeah, fuck this. This isn't right. What the hell is all this? So yeah, that's when they kind of opened their eyes and started questioning what the fuck is going on with all this. So one of them had a relative that was a lawyer. And when the lawyer looked at this contract, he was like, what the fuck? Like, Lou had made himself the sixth member of the band. And the kind of deal that they got is what we used to call a 6-inch deal or a 12-inch deal back in the day. Now, a 6-inch deal is pretty much what these guys got minus a few inches, because these guys, Lou Pearlman had the Backstreet Boys and Sync, all of his bands, F5 or Take 5, Take That, whatever they were. They all got this. I'm going to call this a 3-inch deal, because it wasn't even a 6-inch deal where you can start making profits after a certain thing. Because in the 6-inch deal, the band has to pay back everything. Because the record company may be like, yeah, we can make some money off these guys, but they're not going to be Metallica. They're not going to be Whitney Houston, So they get a 6-inch deal where you pay back for the tours. You pay back, the record company funds everything, but they get a percentage of all your profits until it's all paid back. And this is what Lou Pearlman was doing, but like I said, cutting even more shit out of that. Now, a 12-inch deal, carte blanche. They know you're going to be big. They know you're all going to make millions. Don't worry, you don't have to pay me back. I'll make the money back in spades by your tours, your album sales, this, and that, right? So Lou taking advantage, because one thing con men do, except for one, is they actually do research well enough to be able to know what they're doing and how to con that person through the contracts. And Lou definitely did that. So like I said, that in my opinion was a 3-inch deal. And these guys realized that everything that was going on, recording the albums, paying for the tours, paying for the clothes, paying for the, choreographers, paying for everything, for the family dinners even, that they all thought Lou was like so sweet to, take out for family dinners, and, that he really wanted to make this a family. It always made him so happy to do this, when in reality, it was the boys paying, because the way he structured it, and he did this with all of his contracts, the way he structured it, he was the 6th member of the band. So, kind of to cut the long story short, they were, and I met AJ probably around this time. So that made sense, a lot of the stuff that was going on inside of him. He felt betrayed. He felt this was the first betrayal for a lot of these guys who really, really put trust into someone that they didn't know for the first time. And it kind of changes you when you go through something this significant that is your whole life, your career, because, Lou Pearlman might have put the money in, but it's kind of a 50-50. Without these guys, there would be no money to regain from that, to recoup from that. So, I think I've been an area manager, and I was very appreciative of the stores I managed, because those are the legs I stand on. Without them, I didn't have a job. So it's kind of a 50-50 thing, and Lou thought it was a 90 his way, 10% to the band's way. And that's how he treated the contracts. Then he went to threaten the guys. And, the Backstreet Boys and Sync, they were always discouraged to sue, because you're not going to get anything out of this. Lou's got this contract locked down because he had to have done his research, and he had done contracts before. Like his airline company was working with McDonald's and MetLife, which were huge. Those are huge contracts to get, but he never really provided the services. And here we go here. He got enough services going because he knew, it would create more of a benefit for him in the long run. You're making 90% of an album sales worth, 10, 15 million. You're getting 9 million, 14 million, 15 million, they're getting the paltry left end of it. And that's exactly what he was doing. And, okay, the paper out. And so it was kind of, okay, there we go. The blimp company. Oh, and yeah, someone told AJ, and AJ said this, and this is so true, you guys. If you're in a band, you're just getting into the business, you want to be a roadie at Full Sail, please. The biggest legends in the roadie world never went to school for it. Full Sail's kind of a rip-off. And let me tell you, the Full Sail chick from last night, at the Bush concert, who was doing the lights, whoo! Oris doesn't get mad very often. He was. Because Full Sail's kind of generic. And when roadies were coming up, generic. But yes, someone told AJ that music is a business and don't forget it, because it is. It may be a passion and we love doing it and we love being around it and it's so much fun, but it's still a business. And Lou was counting on the fact that these guys didn't know contracts, didn't have, immediate access to an attorney back then. So we don't think about the music side. We think that's all going to be done for us. And if we're trusting the person who's taking us there, then we just blindly let them. So, and then it came back down. So they had, NSYNC happened to find an out in their contract with, if Lou did not find an American record company to sign them in a certain amount of time, that they could get out of their contract. And the one record company that he had them signed to was a German company, which I think was a false company, because later on this fake German bank account will come into play. Yeah, when he had to pay restitution. So NSYNC went to court, and let's see, they were awarded, I think, suing them, and Lou was trying to sue them. Like, he's like, oh yeah, watch this. He's like, I will scare the fuck out of you because you guys have never sued anybody before. So these kind of bullying tactics that he counter by suing them for $150 million, saying that this is the contract, he's the sixth member of each band, and he continued these contracts even after, and people signed them because they were so desperate to get signed. Even though the Backstreet, the boy band, the group band, that pubescent teen band had gone out of style, and they weren't ever going to really go to the heights that the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, everybody else did, New Kids on the Block. So they never got there, and he knew that was going to happen. But as long as he could profit and make more money by scamming people, why the fuck not? So NSYNC ended up winning their lawsuit. Now, Backstreet Boys kind of did it in another way. They kind of just took Lou's 6-member profits, put it in an escrow, paid him a check, and said, get the fuck out, fired him, basically. So, and I'm glad that they both did, and they found their footing and found their independence in the music business, because this was all coming along when I first started hanging out in the music business. The rock stars were kind of the kings. They kind of led the way that how their contracts were going to work, how they were going to record. But then the music business started becoming more and more prominent in the band's decisions, and a lot more decisions were taken away from the bands or connived into getting what the record company wants. As we see, Metallica, I gotta say it, they went from a fucking really innovative band who wore their hearts on their sleeves, wrote some good music, and now they're just a business machine. That's it. They became everything they said they wouldn't, because the business can ruin your lives, as we know with the Backstreet Boys. Okay. And then on top of all this, Lou is selling stock in his airline, right? To the typical people like the Madoffs and everybody else, the Bernie Madoffs of the world, and all these people that we know that scam people, never pay them back, lie on their taxes to get tax breaks, or lie on their bank applications to get bigger loans. This is all illegal shit. And this is what he's doing. He's taking, there was a veteran who didn't have a lot of money, but had a little bit of savings that he wanted to leave his wife and kids behind, and he wanted to leave more. So he gave his life savings to Lou to invest in this transcontinental airlines. And, and he did this to a lot of people. He did this, he knows how to charm you, to seduce you, to bring you on, to trust him, to give you all of his money, and it's going to be awesome. And of course, then the domino effect is down the line. well, my arm is moving that way, down the line, you can't keep hiding the lies that you're just taking the money. So you're going to get that domino effect. Where's our money? Where's, did we lose everything? Where's our dividends? Where's our losses? Where's our invoices? Where's anything? Nothing. So then that's kind of where, and the airline, one of the employees kind of came out and said, hold on. One of the employees kind of came out and said, if we were an airline company, why was I always booking flights on Delta or Continental or Southwest or whatever? I couldn't understand why I was never booking our own planes. And this is why. Because him and a childhood friend had made some model airplanes, and his childhood friend made these perfect model airplanes. And Lou would literally go to, like, a lot of people sit by the runways at airports all over. There's places where you can park and just watch the planes fly right over you. Really cool, right? Well, when there was not a plane, he would just make it so that his hand was out of the frame. And he would make it look like that was the real plane for the transcontinental airline. So he's got these model planes that nobody could tell the difference. And because they were so well done by his childhood friend, and he's taking these scammy pictures while holding a model plane saying, yeah, this is our airline, dude, when there was no airline. And this is what eventually got him put in jail, because people started suing. But at first, when they started suing, there was a certain DA, Charles Crist, or whatever his name is, down in Tampa Bay area, whatever, Orlando, Southern Florida. I know Tampa Bay's north. Danny used to live there, but so I don't know what he did, but he must have made a huge contribution, because Charles Crist was running for governor at the time, and Lou was just bragging away how he was going to make it happen. So the DA's office, when Charles Crist was there, even chose to discourage their own lawyers in the DA, their own district attorneys, to not pursue these charges. No, this is, and where is Lou Crist today? Yeah, he's a senator, and he's still doing the same shit. He's still a pay-for-play kind of guy. So he basically bribed this now senator to not press charges on him, and this senator in his office actively discouraged the other DA offices to press charges, to follow up on any charges. Why is that? Probably because they'll see a little bit of hidden money on all these. If you're going to fake an invoice to hide a band from the other bands you have on your label, then you can fake a hell of a lot more invoices. So yeah. So this is where Lou Pearlman was finally, somebody didn't listen to that Crist guy, and he finally had to, let's see. Hold on. And even when he lost a lawsuit with this going on that pertained to these charges, and he lost, and they told him you have to provide, the bank draft to pay this off, like they do in every case, whether it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 3 months ago, 20 years ago. You have to provide sort of a bond showing that you have the money to pay this restitution. Well, he put up a bank account all right from Germany. That was a fake bank account. And then he went on the run, because he's not giving up his money. And here's the thing. There was a girl in this video, in this documentary, that was kind of pro Lou, because she's like, I was late for a job interview once, so he sent me the helicopter. My guess is this bitch knows where the money is. My guess, because they don't know where the money is. It's so complicated. If you know how to hide your money, whether it's the Bahamas, whether it's Sweden, whether it's Germany, whether it's wherever, if you know how to launder your money, you know how to hide it. You know what countries have the privacy laws to hide it. So, and I'm guessing because He did eventually go to jail for the con game that he was playing on these people, the Ponzi schemes, because we know a lot of people that went to jail for that. Like I said, the Bernie Madoffs, there's several other people. And we know people that have faked their own deaths for the same thing. There was a younger couple where she thought her husband was dead. So Lou Pearlman is doing these exact same. I mean, it's cookie cutter. You can pick out the con men. It's like a house in Vegas. You ever go to Vegas and you go, every house looks the goddamn same. You've got to count how many houses down yours is so you can find which house to get home to. You don't walk in. Same with the con men. So Lou eventually did get caught because there was an FBI thing put out on the wire, and some guy that was a tourist in some city or somewhere, I can't remember where they said in the documentary, go watch it, but a tourist was like, hey, click, click on his little camera, phone camera. He was like, guess who's eating breakfast at this restaurant? And he sent it to the FBI, and the FBI's like, what? And then he takes another picture, and that day two FBI guys happen to be eating at the same restaurant by pure fucking chance. I don't know if that's when they caught him, but at least that kind of tipped him off to where they were. And that's kind of how they figured out that this person sending this anonymous tip was not fucking lying, because, oh my God, we recognize these two guys over at this table. Here's a picture. In the frame is Lou at this table, and the FBI guys at a booth right here. So really feet away from each other. And they didn't even turn around to see. It took somebody else sitting in that restaurant to be like, hey guys, here, let me do your job for you. The fuck, dude? Not just the Secret Service, but which I think they wanted to. But anyway, and then other accusations that were made, and these are all alleged, were more of victimization through touch, through one of the guys, what was the band from LFO? So one guy from a band had said that he had gone up to Lou's hotel room that night because he was like, hey, come up, I'm a certified trainer. Let's look at this guy. He looks like the only thing he trains with is lifting the hamburgers to his mouth, lifting the cookies, and I need to stop that, so I can't really say anything. But anyway, so kind of started massaging him. You don't need to work out. Here, let me just massage your muscles. He would come into the rehearsals, tell all the guys to take off their shirts, because, of course you need to be buff for the, fans, for the girly girls, everybody to look at you, guys, girls, whatever. And then another guy from LFO had said there was a guy that Lou had arranged a meeting with from another company from Germany. So Germany's playing a huge part in this, because Germany's one of the places you can go to launder money through the Deutsche Bank. Not owned by anybody in Germany, but a little more north. Ruski. But anywho, so that bank comes to play with conmen today as well. So, what was I saying? Oh, so he had arranged this meeting for this guy from LFO, and this guy has told this story on the Howard Stern show. This is allegedly, of course. But, so he's telling this story that Lou had bartered him to go touch this guy's bits and pieces, tids and bits, and to let this guy, and if you want to practice on me, let's do that right now. So this guy is just all around. And I'm so glad that the Backstreet Boys and Sync, that all those guys, he was also, had cameras all over the place, and there was a tanning bed in his house that he was allegedly filming people and showing the guys, because he had the girl groups as well. So when they would go there, take their clothes off, go in the tanning bed, he would film it and show it to everybody else. He was filming everybody. Because you got to have blackmail. When you're a con man, you've got to be able to blackmail everybody. Or put money in their pocket. One of the two. And Lou was able to do both because he set it up that way. So if you guys have not seen this video, he passed away in 2016, never getting out of jail. He would call his friends and be like, I'm going to get out of this, don't worry, because he was probably going to wire money from his real offshore hidden accounts to bribe people. So if you have not seen the boy band Con, watch it. It's very, very informative. You know, I think it would teach a lot of people, especially upcoming musicians, about what not to do in the music world, because it can be very complicated. You can get taken advantage of. You can get into these 12-inch, 6-inch, or 3-inch deals. You know, that you don't realize that you've got certain aspects you have to pay back, or you don't have to pay anything back, that it's a mutual, sharing of the wealth, stuff like that. So I think it's a really good documentary to watch, and to kind of see how NSYNC and Backstreet Boys have really come through it and grown up and taken their careers into their own hand. You know, I love that for them. I love that they stood up, and I love that they kind of did it in two different ways, that they were both able to figure out how to get their careers back, their bands back, because that belonged to them, not just Lou Pearlman. You know, he could have had a stake in it just like any other record company, but always watch out for those people wanting to sell you a quick buck that shower you with all the gifts in the world. You know, always watch out for that. So, but you guys watch it. If you've already seen it, tell me what you think. If you're one of the crowd that's watching from that era, from that area of the world, tell me really. I mean, I total respect that you guys kind of saw it and immediately when you got your checks stepped back, because a lot of the people down the line, they knew but they were so desperate and they were promised so much in the world that they signed these contracts anyway. But I'm so glad that Backstreet Boys and NSYNC kind of gave other bands with Lou and people with Lou a platform to jump off and get away from that kind of sinister bullshit. So well done, you guys. But all right, so down in the comments, tell me what you think about that whole documentary, or that whole existence of the boy band Con. So tell me what you think down in those comments, you guys. And as always, thank you to everybody who has made it to the end of the video with me. You guys rock. You're so awesome. I truly love and appreciate every single one of you. I know, like I said, we're going to talk more about why I've been kind of absent. So, all right, you guys, and if you're just hanging out, you're not subscribed yet, go ahead. Don't be afraid to use your fingers and click some bits and pieces and buttons and share and become a member and hit my bells, because we have a great family here at Cocktails and Rocktails, and always a good time. So, we will see you next time. Cheers, big ears.